I'm heading out to meet Bill Schuweiler and go do some videotaping.
It's interesting how
Are you thinking now? Yeah. Well, Charlie, we're going to Elrosa, Minnesota to visit with David Heinze. He's a very interesting gentleman that met you at a seminar some years back, and we've talked several times. He makes these miniature cannons, and he thought you should have one of them, and so we're going to pick it up right now.
Dave,
Pretty good.
you getting around okay?
Yeah, I'm getting around. I just had a cast change today, but I don't have a cast on, but I'm walking without one with a cam walker, and it doesn't walk very good. Let's put that in the drawer. We can make this look a little better because we don't need to have everything so junky. Those are cannons. Well, see, this here rim is bent. Maybe I should show you how I bent it before you go that far with the camera. Just stop a minute. This is the rim that's already measured out to fit this wheel that I'm going to shrink on. And this is how much stretch I'm going to put in that iron when it's red hot to put on there. You see the gap? Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to weld that together. And that's what you call shrinking a wagon tire on. So, cannon barrel. What it is bushing stock, and it's bored out to about 5/8, and then I cut a 3/4 inch thread on the end of it, and then I machine it into a barrel on the turning lathe, which I got on the farm. And when I got all the machining done, I bring it back in here, then I measure this off. Usually I eyeball them. And then I weld these pins on there, and that's your pivot point. It's about right here is the pivot point of the barrel, and that's where your barrel will rock for the adjuster. So that's the next step I got to do, is weld this on. Then I got to put this back in the turning lathe, and then I cut a thread in there. I cut a 3/4 inch thread. I cut it right on the turning lathe. I chuck it in tight, and I start it with a centering drill device so the thread goes straight. And then I hit the switch on the turning lathe, and then she automatically cuts the thread in there. Okay, Charlie, this is how I make the breech plug for the cannon. I start out with a regular 5/8 inch bolt. I'm going to grab one over here. When I take the 3/4 inch bolt and I put it in the vise here, and I weld this brass bar stock, it's 1 inch brass bar stock. I machine it to a point, and I center it, and then I weld it on there solid with brass, Charlie. Then I go and, when I got it welded solid, then it'll look like this here. Then it's cooled down, and then I put it in a turning lathe, and I spin it down to whatever design breech plug I want to have on the end of the cannon. This is what this model looks like. So this is a finished product, and then that gets put in, goes in the back end of the cannon barrel after I got the thread cut. I cut the thread in the turning lathe with a 3/4 inch tap. I start it like this, and then I use a center punch on the drill stock on the turning lathe to hold it centered, and then I slowly start turning the tap until it's in about a 1/2 inch, and then I hit the power on the lathe and it finishes itself. I get a very accurate straight job, and I have to use a lot of cutting oil to keep it lubricated, and does a nice job. So that's how I end that process. Okay, you don't have to saw it. Tell me when I should start?
You're rolling.
When I cut the wood for the cannon, I start out with a 2x4 or a 2x10 oak or black walnut or black cherry, whatever I have, which looks nice, and then I make the primary cuts, and then I put it on a big belt sander. This is all cut on a table saw, and then here I use an electric scroll saw, and then I put it on a belt sander. Then I start sanding this round. Then this is the next step. See how round I got it already? I just keep sanding it. Then I got this. Then I get the exact length. I got that done. This is already a finished product. Then I got to press the axle in it. The axle has machining again. It's a 3/8 rod. And then I use, spin it down in the lathe to a 1/4 inch. I cut a thread on there. Then I put an acorn nut on the thread, and then this is pressed in there. It's a tight fit. Then the cannon is ready for assembly. What I got here is a 1/8 inch flat plate iron. I pick it up in St. Cloud, Charlie, in the junkyard, in the iron shop. And I'm going to produce a wheel for one of my, you're going to have to give me a little room there. I'm going to produce a wheel that we're going to shrink on a cannon wheel. This is how I start out. I take a vice grip and I pinch it on here, just like this. You want to give me a hand here, hold that? Okay, now it's ready for rolling. Now I just, with my bare hands, I'll just roll this in a circle. This is how I do this all the time. See how I already got it? Nice round circle. There, now I already got I've got a wheel roll to shrink on the cannon. Now I take the exact measurement. See how close I got it rolled? Just with my hands, see? Now I cut that off with a hacksaw, and I have to leave about 185 thousandths for a shrink, about 3/16. Then I cut this through and I weld it together. And then I heat it red hot. We're going to go through that process. And then I'll show you how we shrink a wagon tire on a brass wheel, Charlie. It's real kind of cool. I'm going to cut this off now, and we're going to weld that now. I already got this done. After I established the exact length, I put it in the vise, and somebody's going to have to pinch this shut for me. You're elected. Get on this side, and I'm going to hold that. Go ahead, take the vice grip, and pinch that shut. Go to the end as far as you can. There, and I'll pinch it. Okay, now I'm going to take my stick welder. I could use the wire too, but first.
How many kids you got?
We have 9 children.
So,
I'm going to weld this together now. Okay, now I have to take the vice grip off. And finish that weld. Let it cool a little bit, and I inspect it for flaws in case I got a carbon crack in there. I can't use one of them in this weld. If I got a okay, now I'm going to grind out the inside. Grind the inside of that rim out so it is absolutely nice and smooth. That's what I'm doing right now. Now that one's ready for, I'm going to cool it off. I really don't have to cool it because it's going to get hot again anyway. Now we're going to put a wheel together. So Charlie, when I make the wheels, I start out with a 13-inch, 1.25" brass. It's called bar stock. And I cut off a length, usually 1.5 inches. This is my most common length. Then this is what I got, and then I put it in a turning lathe, and I use a center drill to center the drill, and then I drill a hole through it, and then I machine my settings here. And then I put in another, this one isn't complete, then I put in a recess hub like this here, where the acorn nut goes to hold the wheel on the axle. This is drilled for a bigger wheel. Then when I got this done, then I take the wheel, I take this brass, this comes out of hydraulic cylinder seal parts, can come from brass bushing. Then I machine this to a half inch or less, and then I go and get it in a milling machine, and then I put an indexer and I drill 12 holes of equal distance apart. Same thing is done with this hub. The indexer is set on 12, Charlie, and then you drill, and you're going to have 12 equal spacings regardless how big the wheel is. Then you put that in there, and then you make a wheel. That's done very simple, just like this here. It's already got 2 spokes in it. Then you take some more spokes, and you make a nice square wheel, round. And these all line up real easy. Then you put the other side in, and you go around and around. Then you got a wheel started. That will speed this up. Then you put in the rest of the spokes. Well, these spokes are loose, so I'm going to tighten them. That's what I did there. I just tightened that spoke. Now it'll stay in there. Then you go on the other side. Some of the brass spokes, I start out with a 3-foot welding rod is all it is when I start out. And that becomes the spokes of my wheels. All the spokes in, and I check it, and this runs pretty nice and straight, you see. Now I got that done, I got some long spokes, so I have to cut them off now. That's the next project. If they're too loose, then I have to tighten them, but these are ready to be cut off. I'm going to go to my emery now, and I'm going to shorten up the high ones. My propane here. I'm going to turn that open a little more. Okay, now we're ready. We're heating up the rim to shrink onto the brass cannon wheel. We're going to help that heat out a little bit more. Now we're going to speed that up. Shut the gas off and set it on there. It's ready to go. Now hang on to it tight. Okay. Hold it on there. There we got it. Perfect fit. Now we need that can of water that's in there. It's by the drill press. You want to grab it quick? Now we're going to put a little hard material back in the iron. We'll cool it off a little bit so it's not going to distort nothing, Charlie. Now it's done. You got a completed cannon wheel there. Now I'll take this off and... Oh, I need the plier. Did you put that plier back? We're going to take this off and inspect it. In that water, don't take that away yet. Now we have a finished product. We got it nice and tight. You took my hammers away. You're not... I need to... Can't wiggle it. We had 3/16 of an inch expansion, Charlie, when we started out. And now we got a fiddle string tight rim on there. Good to go to California with the wagon train. The pivot on the barrel. Now you got to hold it square. Okay, now I got to open this up a little bit more. Now Now I'm going to line that up with my mark, and it's ready to go. We gotta get this, bring yours up. There, a little higher. Okay, now, slide it this way. There, now. Now I'm on the mark. Now I'm going to press that. Everything's got to be square. See, now I'm pressing the hinge for the cannon pivot. That's what we just got done. Then I help it out a little bit. Kind of gives it a little more shock. And it makes a nice job. Now it's a finished product. Here we got a hinge ready to mount on a cannon after I put the screws in. So we got, okay, what I got here is a piece of brass welded together. It's actually one piece. I weld it in the vise, and then I fold it back, pinch it tight, and then I weld around here with silver solder, polish it and drill a hole in it, and that becomes the cannon hitch. Just as you see here, this is the finished product. This is the raw product, starting out with a piece of brass. When I got that done, then I have to make the pivot for the cannon barrel. See, these cannons all have a pivot point. So what I do, I take some brass welding rods and I weld them on a burr. This is what that looks like. This is a burr. I drill it and then I weld these right on there. And then with silver solder, then I thread a thread ready rod in it, and that's my adjuster. And then I have to take a piece of iron, cut a hole in it, thread it, and that gets bolted underneath the bottom of the cannon, like you see right here. That's my adjuster for your elevation sight. When I got that done, then I make the cannon hitches. That's these here parts. I already made them up ahead of time. So I make these here up a dozen at a time, or whatever I need. Takes two guys, just brass plating this here, some brass welding rod, I bend it, and then I weld it with silver solder, and then they get put on the side here as a hand. This is where the men would grab the cannon for alignment and for moving it around. See how simple that was? These are some of the collection of the cannons I built, Charlie. I started building cannons in about 1994. I started kind of slowly. Our priest in Belgrade decided that I should build cannons. So I started building them, but my first one was this one here, was the very first one I built. And this is all made out of white oak. And the wheels are red oak spokes, ash fallow, and red oak hub. And this is heat shrunk on there just like the brass wheels were made. And this barrel I drilled in the turning lathe from one end, and then I met in the other end to finish the barrel, and then I cut a 3/4 inch thread in there. That's how I got how this one was made. This one is all steel hardware. And then I went and made a bigger one over here. This is what they call this the mother load. This here one's a lot bigger. It's a lot heavier. It's made out of white oak again, and the wheels are made out of white oak spokes, ash fallow, and a red oak hub drilled out. This has got all brass parts, including the brass hitch. This is the handbars. This is the only thing that's iron. This is even brass underneath. It has an eccentric under it so that it can tip real nice like this for lining up the barrel, for adjusting. It's got a brass bushing in the pivot point, brass bolts, brass straps. And when I got this done, then I started building the small ones. Then I started with one like this. I built 9 of these and give them to the children, 9 children. I give them, each one got one for Christmas in the year 2002, Christmas Day. So then I built 9 of them, and then I had a little time. I started toying with brass casting. A friend of mine poured this, and I had to machine this out. And this is drilled but not to be fired. And this one's pretty much authentic. Then I come up with this little one here. It's got all black walnut wood on it with an all brass barrel, brass wheels. Kind of just something to look at. And then the priest in Belgrade thought I should make this here model, so then I went into these here more And now this is the style I can build the quickest, about 60 hours of work to build one of these from start to finish. I got into playing with gunpowder when I was a kid already. In 1949 we had a Christmas play in the school, and I had to be in charge of making a bang under the stage to blow out tires. So we found my grandpa's musket caps and found out they cracked on a piece of iron, so that's how we started making a bang. And then I went into making mini bombs, which were not always healthy for me, and then I got into dynamite, and I ended up with ammonium nitrate, blowing 20-foot holes in the ground, bury rock piles and make water holes. We also made water holes for DNR in Lake George for the ducks, so been around explosives quite a long time already. This is part of my collection. I had built, this is the one Charlie's getting. Tell me when.
You're rolling.
Okay, this is the cannon I built for Charlie Sharp. His serial number is 61727. That's his birthday right there. So it'll be his to keep, and I hope he takes good care of it, because it will bang. Okay, we're going to load this cannon. I just cut this fuse. Normally 3 inches is all you need. If you want it to last longer, you put a 4 or 5 inch on. And the first thing you do, you stick it down in the barrel, and then you got that done. Then I tip it down because I don't have the funnel here. I'm just going to tip it like this. Then we're going to put some powder in there. I just use a couple caps full. Then I kind of just tip it in there like this. Well, that's 1 cap, but I like to put in 3 or 4 so I get a louder bang. When I get tired, I just do like this. It goes done quicker. Think I got enough now? We'll quit.
We'll fill it up.
We can fill it up. It won't. I'm just using paper, and I put a good amount of paper in front of the ramrod I use, and then I get it thick, and then I push it down in there, and I pack it, and then I put some more in there. The tighter you pack it, the more compression you're going to create, and you make them wet, and then they pack better. Now I'm getting it tighter. Make it a little wet, and then you pack it again. Now you can actually pack this barrel all the way to the front. It'll just make a louder bang. And I don't recommend anybody shooting projectiles out of here because you don't know where they're going to go on the other end.
What model is this?
It's a 1860 howitzer, copied after from the Civil War era cannons, copied after the Napoleon cannon. But these are made in the United States in 1860 for the Civil War. It's about a 1/12 scale model of the howitzer Civil War cannon.
So Charlie, what do you get a man after 76 years for his birthday? Well, we thought we'd try this one on. So I hope you get a bang out of your 76th birthday present.